So before we do, I just want to share that this hyperlink is there. Feel free to scan it. It shares resources for you all to use for today, the workshop, also beyond today's workshop. There's like a resume in there, some career building questions, interview questions, and so forth.
Yeah, we have a worksheet that we'll hand out, so
Yes.
you don't need anything right now. But my name is Matthew. I'm a regional director at CEA CAPA. We are an organization that provides study abroad programs to CNU. We work with your study abroad office, so with Kelsey and Mandy. I'm based in Greensboro, North Carolina. So I work at universities in North Carolina, Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky. I didn't know this field was an option when I graduated, so international ed is a field you could go into in your career. I studied abroad in Spain for 3 years. I lived in Valencia, and I just loved it so much that I want to get students to study abroad. But yeah, and this is Kiana.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Kiana Gardner. I am a senior career development and internship specialist. I work specifically with our Spain locations, so that being Barcelona, Sevilla, Madrid, and Granada. So if you all are interested in pursuing an internship with us, specifically in Spain or not even in Spain, feel free to ask me questions after today. I studied abroad in South Africa as an undergrad, and I also had the pleasure of doing Peace Corps in Morocco. I love all things international education and just community development and career development. So I'm really happy to be helping Matthew lead this workshop today.
Yeah, and so we just want you guys to be able to speak confidently about your experience abroad. You guys have already taken the first step, so definitely thanks for taking the initiative. But as you're getting closer to graduation, you're thinking about applying to jobs, we want to use this workshop so you're able to articulate those skills on how to speak to them within an interview, your resume, a cover letter, and then LinkedIn as well. So here's today's agenda. We're going to do a fun little Slido. Kiana's going to lead it right now, but we'll work our way down through resume, cover letter, LinkedIn, and then interview process.
All right, so you can join our Slido link for today's warm-up using the QR code or typing in slido.com and then using the code that appears below. And once you all have joined, I guess you could give me a thumbs up. We good? Okay. All right. So the first question that we're asking you all is, what is one word to describe your international experience as a whole? Great. Oh, a lot of enlightening and transformative. Does anyone care to elaborate a little bit on the word they selected and why they chose that? Why was it transformative? Why was it impactful? Why was it enlightening? Okay.
I didn't put transformative,
yeah.
but I agree with all of that. I definitely think I put confidence boosting. I think that like going abroad, I've been abroad before, but I'm the youngest in my family. I was like never the leader in that way. Like I was never like the one making any plans, or like everything was already kind of lined up for me. So like being able to go abroad, I went for a full semester. So like doing that and like living on my own and like having to like figure everything out for the first time ever really. Even going to college wasn't like even that big of a shift as it was like changing countries, and like I didn't even go to a non-English speaking country, and that was still a cultural impact for me. So having that confidence, being able to navigate that airport on my own, like figuring out like money, like transferring money and everything like that was like super transformative just from coming back to America, and then being able to have that confidence that I gained was really impactful for me.
Yeah, no, those are great skills that you've identified, and I applaud you. Just even being able to go to a brand new city and navigate the public transportation system, you know, you're using critical thinking and communicating with other folks, so that's wonderful. Yeah, I love that these are all like positive words. I've done this presentation a couple times, and like some students will have not a great experience, so I love it, yeah. Perfect.
So what professional skills, soft or hard, did you most develop in your internship abroad? And just an example for a soft skill is being able to learn to be a better communicator, like effective communicator. A hard skills could be something within the technology space, using how to utilize Salesforce as an example, or if you're in marketing, using how to use MailChimp as a marketing tool. Would anyone like to share out loud their response? Yes.
I said networking, just because I felt like it was really, impactful was my word last time. But I said networking because we were able to kind of go to a bunch of different companies and spaces abroad. So for example, we went to Switzerland and went to Corona Swiss and like got to talk to like one of the like business officials there, and we were able to speak one-on-one with him, get his business card, like speak to him about like his job and his story and different things like that. And then also just with like the company we were with, like they were all very willing to like speak to us and talk to us about like our future goals. So I feel like going abroad gave me the confidence to be able to network more like efficiently and effectively. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it becomes easy once you're back on campus and attending events or workshops such as today, and being able to talk with your peers about your experience and growing your personal network. So I agree with that. Yes.
I put cultural awareness. I think it's really easy to kind of get into a comfortable bubble, especially somewhere like college. You find your people and you kind of stick with that. And so just like getting out and meeting other people and interacting with people from entirely different backgrounds and cultures was really interesting. I think really like broadened my perspective on like the world.
Yeah.
And seeing other worldviews.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I definitely identify with what you shared. I know when I was in Morocco and my language abilities were super limited, I was able to just be able to adapt, and I feel like you don't always need to like be fluent in a language to understand someone's character, who they are as a person. So yeah, I agree. Last question for our warm-up. And the last being, what emoji would you use to represent your favorite memory during your time abroad? Anyone want to elaborate on the emoji? I feel like they're self-explanatory, please feel free. Yes.
I put the beer one. I think, so I was all over Europe, and just the drinking culture there's pretty different, but that was just some of my favorite memories, was like sitting down at cafes and just for hours talking to people and beer drinking and having fun, but just kind of the culture that is surrounding that.
Right, it's like more interpersonal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a really fast eater, so that matters to me. I lived in Spain, and I just remember I would like eat my dinner in 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and then my friends would take 2 hours, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? But yeah, no, that's great. They really enjoyed their time with each other. So.
Yes.
I did the heart ones. My entire group, we really bonded because we were like the first group with our teacher to go. And like even now we'll say hi, we still hang out and everything. So like we're all still like, really close. And I really enjoyed that part of it.
Yay, I love to hear that. Yeah, you make sometimes your best friends while you're abroad.
Yeah, I think that once you go through an experience so transformative with another person, like you'll be friends with them for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So now I want to jump more into kind of identifying and thinking about the skills. So this exercise is kind of get your juices flowing about, thinking about those skills, identifying them. But if everything you learned during your time abroad, totaling 100%, fits into the box below, what percentage of it did you learn in the classroom? So I want you to take just 1 minute and like reflect about that and think about it with yourself. And think about like, okay, if I'm, 10%, where's the other 90% from? If I'm 50%, where's the other half from? And then I want you to just like in your tables kind of chat with one another and see what the other person has for their percentage.
And please feel free to introduce yourself to each other if you don't know anyone at the table. And also share where you went.
All right, I'm hearing a lot of good conversation, so thank you guys for sharing. I'm really curious, was anybody really high, like 70% or above? No. Okay, was anybody really low, like 20% or under? Yeah? Would you guys mind like sharing why you would rank that percentage so low?
Well, I didn't do you guys, and it was my classes were pass-fail, so to start off, I wasn't going to class as much as I should have.
Okay.
You interact with people your age a lot in the classroom, but other than that, I mean, you're just there with your head down, doing your individual schoolwork. So you get a lot of academic curriculum, but as of getting involved with the culture, I think that comes from other experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you like just going on the street, going to the restaurant, maybe going out?
Going out, going to a restaurant, going to a cafe, talking to someone random.
Absolutely.
That kind of thing.
Absolutely. I know you had your hand.
We did more of our learning at the spot of where, like we learned about leaders and Czech history, and we went to the spot of where they either taught or they might have died. Like we went there and learned about them rather than learn about them in the classroom, so we could see like the environment they were in, if it was busy or if it was like a concentration camp. Like we went to those places.
Yeah. No, wonderful. So, like, yeah, learning at the location, meeting locals, interacting with the culture. What else? Yeah,
kind of on the same note, I said about 15 because we did learn from like foreign professors, which was cool, learning their teaching styles compared to like American professors. But what Jamie mentioned earlier was a lot of it was at the spot where we're learning from business owners, from like Michelin-star restaurant owners to EU lobbyists. So it's not like a traditional like classroom where you're sitting down at a desk and you're hearing lectures. You're kind of like getting a tour, like seeing it with your own eyes and being able to hear it from people that are, I don't want to say teachers are not qualified, but people that are actually, that's their occupation and people that live through these stories.
yeah. No, that's wonderful. And like as you guys are talking about this, I want you to be thinking like when you're putting this on your resume and studied abroad, like you're selling yourself short if that's all you put. Your guys are telling me all these different things that you did to learn while you were abroad. But on the other side, was anybody like higher, like above 50%?
I was like at 50-ish, like, and also like I was telling them like, yeah, I was there for the full semester. I took whole classes at the University of Glasgow, and like just the difference in academics there versus the difference in academics here. So like I was learning like more in the university sphere more than just like the classroom, like how professors interact with students, how students interact with their professors, how students interact with other students, all that kind of stuff, and like how like you're supposed to do your education and how that like differs from here, and even the classes that I was taking were a lot different than what I would take here at CNU. So I feel like I was learning a lot in the classroom just analytically, like how to write different, like I'm an English major, how you write in the US is way different than how you're writing in England or in the UK. So that was different, but then also like just how university life was a lot different over there. So like it was like a big move from what I would do here versus what I would do there. So
Yeah.
that was how it was.
I did an exchange in Spain, and I was very independent learner because I went to UNC Wilmington, but then I was in Spain. And when I was in Spain, like I would always be like, hey, do you want to go to the library with me to study? And like I feel like I would have friends at Wilmington that would go to the library, but it was so much more of like a community space where everybody was kind of learning together. And I also thought the courses were like way harder in Spain, so I really had to like read the textbook. So that's a great point. Next slide, please. So these are just a couple of things that we came up with that you can learn outside of the classroom. And so I want you guys to be thinking about that, adding to this as we're moving forward and learning to talk about this on your resume and in an interview. And so yes, now we're going to talk about skills gained. I'm just really curious, has anybody talked about their study abroad experience to get a job or maybe in an interview this fall? I'm seeing some nods. Does anybody care to share like how that went, how you talked about it, what did they ask you?
Well, it wasn't this fall. Well, I work in the study abroad office with Maggie, so when I got straight off of my trip, basically, I went my spring of my sophomore year, so it's been a year and a half now. And the whole point of the interview was to talk about like what we did abroad and what skills we gained, and I have it on my resume now, like about kind of what I did while I was over there, and I was able to work with the visiting students team at the University of Glasgow as well, which really helped. So these skills that I gained were that I was able to kind of already market my study abroad to people, like while I was actively doing it, and like how that looked as a student while I was there, and then being able to bring that to the office. Like I now talk to other students in the CEU community about like why I went abroad and how it helped me, and now I want a career in it as well. So that's kind of like the trajectory, I guess, of my study abroad.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I think you said you.
Yes, I have. So I had 2 different internships this summer. One was archaeology, and I had gone to a classics program in Rome where I had learned from a lot of people who were actively digging in the field. So I kind of talked about how I learned from them in order to get that position. And then I was also an orientation there, so I talked about how I had learned from different cultures and learned the vast array of cultures that come from around the world, and how that has impacted CNU, and able to talk about that with future freshmen. So.
Wonderful. No, you guys are doing great. I love to hear it. Yeah. Next slide, please.
Okay, so here are some statistics behind interning and studying abroad. Can I have someone read that first one under 90%?
Yes. 90% of students who studied abroad found employment within 6 months of graduation.
All right, can I have someone read the next 60%?
60% of hiring managers prefer candidates with international experience.
20% higher starting salary for students with study and internship abroad experience.
And someone read the last.
75% of employers say study abroad is important when evaluating candidates for entry-level positions.
Yes, so these are just some really great statistics on where you all are based at. When you study, when you intern abroad, it makes you even more competitive as really professionals. So here we have the 8 NACE core competencies that employers have found to be the top skills that they're looking for when hiring early professionals. So the first competency we have is career and self-development. So within that, an example is, so show an awareness of your own strengths and areas of development. For the second, we have critical thinking. And just to show an example for that one. So making judgments and solving problems using sound, inclusive reasoning and judgment. The third, we have communication. An example for that behavior is understanding the importance of and demonstrate verbal, written, and nonverbal body language and abilities. The fourth, we have equity and inclusion. An example of that is soliciting and using feedback from multiple cultural perspectives to make inclusive and equity-minded decisions. The fifth is leadership. A simple behavior we have under that is inspire, persuade, and motivate self and others under a shared vision. The sixth is professionalism. To act equitably with integrity and accountability to self, others, and the organization. For the seventh competency, we have teamwork, which is an example we've identified is to listen carefully to others, taking time to understand and ask appropriate questions without interrupting. And then the final is technology. We are in a technology-driven society, so we have to have some skills there to be able to be competitive against others. And an example we have is navigate change and be open to learning new technologies. So once again, these are the top skills that our employers are looking for. What Matthew just did is passed out a NACE, National Association of College Employers, worksheet that will allow for you to reflect on each competency, drawing it in towards your international experience, or even I know a few of you haven't studied abroad yet, so what have you accomplished while you've been here in the States, or something that you hope to be, a competency that you hope to gain skills in, I would say to fill in for those areas. So we're going to allow you all to take 4 to 5 minutes to just sit and reflect on each of those competencies, and feel free to fill in as many as you'd like at this moment. I would say maybe 2. And once you've taken that time to sit and reflect on those competencies and drawing it into your international experience, feel free to share it with those at your table.
Yeah, this is like your career services. We got Logan over here. So I want to plug them. This is the NACE is the National Association of Colleges and Employers. So they are interviewing all these huge employers, what you're looking for in a candidate. And so they rank these and they change like every year based on ranking. So like the top 3, top 4, you're gonna really want to focus on those. But while you're filling out those worksheets, try to do it from an international lens. If not, you can definitely do it from the domestic lens.
So we have some questions here. Overall, I want to know, what skill could you not stop talking about? What's a skill that you feel like you want to further develop? What competency? What opportunities can you pursue at CEU to develop your competencies? And I really want to put an emphasis on that question because it's just as we saw. I was so relaxed about it. It's fine. So I just really want to put an emphasis on what opportunities can you pursue at CEU to develop your competencies, because we know that it's important to be in the classroom, the work is important, being able to perform well in your courses and get a good GPA, but it's just as important to look at joining clubs, getting an internship, being able to get a part-time job to further develop your overall skills in life. And also just that helps you, along with being in the classroom, just figuring out what do I want to pursue as a full-time career in the future.
So for me, I think study abroad really solidified the fact that I do want to go into international education and take that as my career route. So with that at CEU, I feel like it comes 2 things. First, I'm definitely looking into internships abroad this upcoming summer, trying to assess where I could go from there. But also I've started working with the professors that I went abroad with to conduct undergraduate research as well, based on my topic that I researched over the summer. So definitely a lot that's come from it already, so super excited.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else that I haven't heard from, or even if I have heard Yes.
I also am, well, I'm currently participating in research with a professor about how study abroad impacts student leadership competencies. So this is very similar, but I wouldn't have had that opportunity to work with my professor if I hadn't gone on the study abroad trip. So it opened that window that I never thought I would research something like study abroad.
Right.
Because you know, when I think of research, I think of like all the sciences and stuff, and this is like different. So.
I'm really curious, what did y'all put for technology? Because that's
Yeah.
my weak one, and so I always am trying to get ideas. Yeah?
I put actually, oh wait, I'm not on it. I had to like learn a whole new medium of like how to like email and like how they do their classes and like how you do it. It's on like a Moodle page, which I'd never done before. As well as they use like heavily Microsoft Office and like Outlook for emails, which we're big Google people over here. So learning that and like how to communicate like with your professors via that, I like when I came back to the office, like I had to make a whole template of like how to find it because they don't tell you or spell it out where you really have to like just know how to do it and how to find it. So I didn't really expect that to be an obstacle for me when I went abroad. It was like kind of the last thing on my mind actually, that I was gonna have to like learn like a new technology while I was over there. So that or like new, not technology, but like a new platform of like using your technology. And like also professors like how they use it as well. Like in the UK, like by like 3 p.m. on Friday, they're like not checking their emails anymore. Even like post off out of work office hours on the weekdays, like they're not going to communicate with you. So like it's way easier to get them in person than it is to even get them over email or anything like that. So like learning that communication kind of bled through on the technology side as well.
Yeah, no, and you made a great point. Like when I filled out that worksheet, I found that a lot of these skills, you can kind of combine them, or maybe if one you're feeling like you're lacking on, like for me it's not like technology, but like I can kind of tie that into critical thinking skills and then communication skills, and then oh hey, I built up this technology skill that I'm able to talk about. Making a power statement, which Kiana will talk about in a second, but I know you had your hand up.
Similar to her, my university in Spain had a whole different program that they use instead of Scholar, so learning how to use that, getting fluent in that, different types of emails, learning how to use interface.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, I didn't know how many people use WhatsApp in Europe, and when I was in Spain, everybody sends voice messages, and I'm like, I'm never gonna get on board with a voice memo, I'm sorry. But yeah, no, thank you guys for sharing.
Also using all those public transportation apps.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so now you may be asking yourselves, how do you write about these skills on your resume?
So this we have if you did a 4-credit option. The next slide we have for internship, we'll kind of like single that out. But what we recommend, and Career Services Logan can chime in if you guys do it differently, we would recommend to just kind of put it under CNU, and then a couple of bullet points about what you did there and kind of how you grew. I see a lot of people taking pictures. Kelsey has the slide, she's totally happy to send it to y'all. And then there's that resources page that Kiana will go to at the end of the presentation that you can scan again. But yeah, we'll talk about writing these little bullet points, these action statements. And did anybody do an international internship? I don't think I asked that. No? No problem.
Okay.
But yeah, if you do have any, if you are pursuing one, totally call that out. The one thing that I want you guys to take away from this presentation is like be proud of your study abroad, bring in that international experience, and like whatever you do, tie it back to that international piece. We have like a color-coded slide in a second that I love, but you guys are already in like the top percentile of students, so be proud of what you did.
Absolutely. So here's some additional statistics based on the National Association of College and Employers. Just because of time's sake, we're going to let you just read this on your own and we'll go to the next slide. All right, so now power statement, bullet point formula. So a power statement allows for you to be able to draw in your experience, whether it's international job experience, a part-time job, or an internship, a club that you were a part of, an organization, and being able to include using a strong action verb, specific details that includes who, what, how many, and also the value that you gained out of that experience, which includes why, the results, impact, goals, and purpose. So here are a few sample power statements that includes all of these things, and then plus all of the core competencies that I mentioned in the last slide, plus the international context that you all have been able to gain or will gain. Can I have someone to read out that first bullet point?
Implemented a social media strategy across 3 platforms by analyzing trends specific to Spain to grow follower count and increase engagement from 52% to 71%.
Yes, thank you. So I'm sure you all may have resumes on file, and I'm not sure if you all have gone to your career centers, but it's so easy to use like maybe 1 or 2 of them. Like I interned in the marketing agency for blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it's so easy to like, just make that what you put on your resume for that specific experience and not include statistics. So, I mean, it's always easy to just use a marketing example. Say you worked in marketing, had an internship in marketing, and you worked on the social media platforms such as TikTok and Instagram. You can easily go to like the settings and see like, from the start of your internship to the end of your internship, looking at the months of the amount of engagement and growth that you were able to provide the organization or company with, to be able to include these statistics on your resume. Can I get someone to read the second bullet point?
Organize social, educational, and service projects aimed at informing locals on humanitarian and sustainability issues occurring within the city of Paris.
Yeah. Thank you. And so this is also fine if you don't have specific statistics or analytics under your belt. This is just as good because it includes that strong verb, the specific details, what you did, the value that you brought, and then it also includes where you studied abroad. So again, it's putting you ahead of others that may be applying for an internship or a position, showing that you have that global mindset and have been in a global context. And you can read the third.
Here we stand. Performed research regarding public opinion of foreign media influence on national culture in Italy while developing written and oral Italian language fluency.
Thank you. So that's similar to the second. These all tie together to make it a whole like power statement. That's why we call it that. It includes all 4 of these competencies.
Yeah, I want to add, like, I know that nobody did an internship, but using your worksheet and identifying those skills, you can create those bullet points just for, critical thinking, navigating the transportation system in Spain or wherever. So don't sell yourself short. You can definitely add those bullet points to your resume.
So now you may be asking yourselves, how do you write about your skills in a cover letter? Cover letters to me sometimes are like, not hard, it's just time consuming. But once you have the blueprint of one, it's very easy to take some experiences out and add in other experiences depending on what job, internship, or opportunity that you're applying for. So we have an example of a cover letter, someone who did study abroad. And overall, the goal of your cover letter is to tell a story. Usually it's 2 to 3 paragraphs. You're talking about why you're applying for the position or opportunity. You're also including a little bit about yourself and why the position is important to you and about your background, maybe drawing on 2 experiences such as your study abroad experience, how it transformed your life, and these are the skills you gained out of it. And then also potentially another experience that you endured, and then tying it all together to be able to further advocate for yourself and wanting to gain that position, and thanking them for the opportunity to even review your cover letter. So again, 75% of employers say study abroad is important when evaluating candidates for entry-level positions. I know I can say firsthand, for me studying abroad, for me doing the Peace Corps, people are always like, wow, like you did the Peace Corps, like how is that? It's always a good conversation starter. People are always amazed that I was able to go and be abroad, immersing myself in the culture, and you all have that same skill, that same, I guess, just what makes you stick out compared to other potential candidates.
Yeah, I just want to add, like, definitely tell your story. You can't just say, I went to Italy and I had an Aperol Spritz. I mean, that's great, but no one's going to hire you for that. And so make sure you're able to articulate that, use that NACE worksheet, throw in those skills that you've developed.
Right.
Yes.
I just have a question, if you're applying for jobs that are within the international education like field and you're going up against candidates that also have studied abroad as well or done the same programs that you've done, how are you marketing yourself differently to stand out then against people that already have the thing that makes them stand out in a regular
Right,
position?
that's a really great question. You come back to those skills that you gained. This is what makes me, separates me from other candidates. Like drawing upon your personal skills, I would even say my supervisor had our team do the strength finders, Gallup strength finders. I know I did that in college as well. You can utilize those skills, draw it to the NACE 8 core competencies, and you're creating a story for yourself. So always draw back to your personal skills, what makes you stand out, and then also tying in that I studied abroad, I interned abroad, and this is why I'm just a beautiful person to hire. Like, hire me. And we can talk even further about it.
Thank you.
That was a really great question.
All right. I'm curious, how many of you guys have LinkedIn? Oh, wow. Like all of you. Okay.
Wow.
How many of you post regularly on LinkedIn?
Wow.
One. Okay, that's great.
There's like two.
Yeah. Okay.
2.5.
I actually don't really do it. So, but for those that don't post, why? Anybody? Why don't you post?
I always get like concerned as like it's applicable to my LinkedIn. Like I haven't posted about study abroad yet because I like don't know how. So it's
Yes. No, that is the number one thing that students always say is, I don't know what to post and I don't know when to post. So kind of next slide. This is just a quick example. We'll come back to this. Can you go to the next slide? So since you guys, except a couple of you, have studied abroad, one thing that I would totally encourage you to do is just write a thank you for this experience and thank and tag those people who got you to study abroad. I guarantee you they will like, they will repost. You can tag CNU, you can tag Mandy and Kelsey in the study abroad office, and they will love it. And thanking, one thing that I think students are fearful about on posting LinkedIn is they don't want to seem like they're bragging or like, hey, I went to Spain, here's this. And so thanking the people that helped you get there is a way to do that that's quite selfless. And it doesn't matter when, it's never too late. Even if you studied abroad 2 years ago, you can say, hey, I'm reflecting on my time in Prague that happened 2 years ago. I really want to thank Mandy for helping me get there. And so that's the easiest post, and you'll get a lot of traction. And totally, that's my challenge for you today, is to write a thank you about your study abroad experience on your LinkedIn. Can you go to the previous slide?
Yep.
This is just some info on how to kind of write a LinkedIn bio. We're going to fly through it. We only got 5 minutes, but it is color-coded, so be proud of your international experience. Tie in there, you studied in Prague, you studied in Spain. Throw that in your LinkedIn bio, and then add a couple of those NACE competencies that you filled out on your worksheet.
All right, so how do you articulate your skills in an interview? Usually the scariest part of applying to a job. So we have, I think we passed out those, you passed out the behavioral.
No, I did not. I can do that.
Okay, yeah. So Matthew's going to pass this out. I know we're short on time, but this is good for you to keep on file. These are common questions that employers are asking during interviews. And usually when you're answering behavioral interview questions specifically, you want to be able to use the STAR method. Has anyone used the STAR? Has anyone heard of the STAR method? Has anyone used it? All right. So some yes, some no. So you're going to be able to draw upon the situation, task, activity, and result. So some sample questions could be, tell me about a time when you had to work within a group setting or work independently. Or describe a situation when there was a conflict between you and a colleague or a difference of opinions. And then another example is, give me an example of a time when you had to, I don't have an example for that, but these are just, again, some sample, starting with the questions, we have the interview examples of interview questions, and a lot of them are behavioral based.
Yeah, just I feel like nowadays all these questions you're gonna get asked are these behavioral. So tell me about a time when, what happened when, explain a situation that you were in with this. And so just get used to these, practice these. These are the most common interview questions. So if you have a couple of canned answers right off the tip of your tongue, you're gonna be doing so much better than your peers. And tie those back to this.
So we also have included some responses to about 2 questions in there. And again, those sample interview questions are based on those 8 core competencies. But just to further elaborate on the STAR method, for the situation, you want to set up your story with the problem you faced. For the task, you want to explain what you were responsible for in that situation. And then the activity, you want to share what you did in response to the problem. And then as a result, you're tying it back to what was the outcome of dealing with that specific problem or obstacle that you faced. And then a great tie back is how would you use these same skills to add value to the position you're interviewing for, to connect it to the dots for your interviewer and further demonstrate your value, to make it a whole, well-rounded answer and response. So I think that's pretty much all we have.
The QR code.
Yes.
Yeah, and then Kiana and I are like, if you guys want to come and talk to us about your resume or have specific questions, like just we're here for, we can be here forever long.